Our next speaker is Sarah Herder-Lewis. Sarah is Minute's Director of Equal Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Prior to her time with the state of Minnesota, she spent nearly 10 years directing education and communications programs at a human rights organization. She holds a master's in public policy with a concentration in human rights, a BA in English, and a secondary teaching degree. She will speak about anticipating and handling accommodations, ASL interpreting, card services, captioning, and more. Folks, I present to you Sarah Herder-Lewis.
Thank you, Rosie. It's really great to be here with you. As Rosie said, I'm Sarah Herder-Lewis. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I identify as Caucasian. I have long brown hair and I'm wearing a teal shirt. And I'm here today to talk about reasonable accommodations as part of the planning phase for meetings or events. Next slide, please. So first, let's go over the difference between accessibility and accommodations. Here you see on the slide an image of several people working on presumably ideas with a light bulb in the middle. So accessibility means, of course, designing digital and physical spaces in a way so that they can be accessed by everyone. It may mean ensuring documents can be used by screen readers or installing ramps to provide wheelchair access to a building. Reasonable accommodations, on the other hand, focus on meeting a particular individual's needs based on their disability. So, for example, they may need the screen reading software as an accommodation, but still need documents to be accessible so they can use that software. With meeting considerations, you may have individuals who still need reasonable accommodations, even if you strive to make your meetings accessible. And in order to do that, that's going to mean a couple of things. So number one, when you communicate about a meeting or event, you should include the contact person for requests for accommodations and by what date they should make the request. This is typically a 2-week window. So number one, when preparing, when you communicate about a meeting or event, be sure that you include the contact person for requests and by what date they should make the request. And number two, be sure that if someone makes a request, you're prepared. So the two most common types of accommodations for meetings or events will be cart services or real-time captioning and American Sign Language or ASL interpretation. Now, cart services is done by professionals who can work either in person or remotely to caption your live event. Be sure to identify for them what the venue will be. If virtual, they will most often use a separate window for stream text, and a user can watch the captions in that window while watching the event in another. If you're wondering why auto captions in Teams is not sufficient, it's because those captions have a high error rate. They're great if you're not solely relying on them or if you have no alternative, but they're not a best practice as an accommodation. So the vendor on master contract for cart services at the state is Veritext or Paradigm. If they are unavailable, however, you can use another vendor, and one option is Riverside Captioning. ASL interpretation is the second type of accommodation you'll frequently see, and we do have a few vendors on master contract who can provide that service. So if you're hosting an in-person meeting, you will need to make arrangements to have someone meet the person early and get them seated opposite the user, usually at the front of the room. If the interpreter joins you virtually, they will often use a separate Zoom window, and you can work with the ASL provider and user to set that up. For both CART and ASL, you'll want to plan in advance to have someone monitoring both windows so they can act as a liaison if an issue comes up. Next slide, please. So now we're going to discuss budgeting. And here we see on the slide a desk with papers showing charts and glasses and coffee. So most reasonable accommodations are free or low cost. Cart services and ASL interpreters do have a cost attached. However, they shouldn't be cost prohibitive. Both are approximately $130 an hour, generally speaking. You'll need to check with your agency's ADA provider to find out how accommodations are paid for. At Minute, we have a centralized fund that the ADA coordinator operates, but some agencies pay for accommodations by department. But once you know, you can budget accordingly. However you do it, blanket POs are a very helpful tool because sometimes you'll get last minute requests and you won't have time to encumber funds before the meeting or event. So providing a blanket PO allows quick access to services. And a fantastic resource to offset some of those costs is the state's accommodation fund. It provides up to 50% reimbursement for qualifying accommodations that any agency makes for its own staff members. Minute recovers approximately $5,000 to $10,000 a year using that fund, so it's definitely worth checking out. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for being here, and I will turn it back over to Rosie to introduce the next speaker.